I was getting congratulated on my promotion when a colleague showed me a viral post claiming I was a manipulative narcissist who destroys women's lives. My ex-girlfriend had shared fabricated screenshots of our private conversations and turned our breakup into a 50,000-share social media crusade. What she didn't know was that my lawyer specializes in digital defamation cases. My name is Alex Morrison. I'm 32 years old, and I'm about to tell you how my ex-girlfriend tried to destroy my life through social media manipulation, and how her campaign of digital harassment became the most expensive mistake she ever made. That viral post I just mentioned was spreading across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok on a Tuesday morning in March 2024, just hours after I'd received the best news of my career. I'd been promoted to Senior Marketing Director at Zenith Digital, a tech company in Austin, Texas, and I was still processing the excitement when my colleague Jason walked into my office with a concerned expression. "Alex, you need to see this," he said, turning his phone toward me. "This is blowing up on social media." The post was a carefully crafted thread by someone named a Truth Teller M, featuring what appeared to be screenshots of text conversations, where I was saying things like, "You're lucky. I even talked to someone like you, and I could ruin your reputation if I wanted to." The post had been shared over 50,000 times in less than 6 hours, with thousands of comments calling me everything from toxic to dangerous. The problem was, I'd never sent any of those messages. And a Truth Teller M was my ex-girlfriend Emily Carter, someone I dated for exactly 3 months before we mutually agreed we weren't compatible. But Emily had turned our brief, unremarkable relationship into a viral social media narrative that painted me as an abusive manipulator who had traumatized her so severely that she felt compelled to warn other women about my behavior. What Emily didn't know was that I work in digital marketing, which means I understand exactly how social media manipulation works. More importantly, what she didn't know was that my attorney, Patricia Hendricks, specializes in digital defamation law and had been waiting for a case exactly like this one. Let me take you back to the beginning, because the best revenge stories start with normal relationships that one person decides to weaponize for their own agenda. I met Emily Carter in November 2023 at a professional networking event in downtown Austin. She was 29, worked in public relations for a local startup, and seemed intelligent and ambitious. We had good conversations about work, shared interests in hiking and live music, and what felt like natural chemistry. Our first few dates went well. Dinner at a nice restaurant, a concert at the Moody Theater, a weekend hike at Zilker Park. Emily was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. For about 6 weeks, I thought we might be building something meaningful. Around our 8th date, I started noticing things that made me uncomfortable. Emily had strong opinions about how I should spend my time, who I should be friends with, and what kind of career decisions I should make. She would get upset if I didn't respond to her texts within an hour, and she had a habit of analyzing every conversation we had for hidden meanings. "You said you were tired when you got home from work," she told me one evening. "But then you went to the gym. That tells me you're avoiding spending time with me." I explained that going to the gym actually helped me decompress after stressful days, but Emily interpreted this as evidence that I was emotionally unavailable and prioritizing my routine over our relationship. The pattern escalated quickly. Emily began showing up at my apartment unannounced, calling me multiple times when I was at work, and expressing jealousy about female colleagues she'd never met. When I suggested we slow things down and get to know each other better, she accused me of leading her on and wasting her time. By early January 2024, it was clear that Emily and I had very different ideas about what our relationship was and where it was going. I wanted to date casually and see if we were compatible. Emily wanted immediate commitment and total availability, The conversation where we decided to end things was actually pretty mature. We were sitting at a coffee shop near her apartment, and I explained that I didn't think we were a good match for a serious relationship. I think we want different things, I told her, and I'd rather be honest about that now than pretend it's working when it's not. Emily seemed to accept this reasonably well. She said she was disappointed, but understood my perspective. We agreed to end things amicably and wished each other well. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks after our breakup conversation, I started noticing strange activity on my social media accounts. Comments from accounts I didn't recognize, asking pointed questions about how I treated women and whether I was trustworthy in relationships. When I looked at these accounts, they were obviously fake no-profile pictures, minimal followers, created recently. I blocked the accounts and forgot about it. I figured Emily was probably venting to friends, and maybe some of them were checking me out online. It seemed harmless enough. A month later, the activity escalated. I received messages from people claiming they'd heard things about me from someone who wanted to protect other women. The messages were vague, but accusatory, suggesting I had a pattern of manipulative behavior in relationships. When I tried to trace the source of these messages, I discovered that someone had been spreading rumors about me in Austin's young professional community. The rumors weren't specific enough to be clearly false, but they painted a picture of someone who was emotionally abusive and couldn't be trusted in relationships. I suspected Emily was behind the rumors, but I couldn't prove it, and the claims were vague enough that I didn't know how to address them. I decided to ignore the situation and hope it would die down naturally. That was my second mistake. My first mistake had been underestimating Emily's commitment to rewriting our relationship history to cast herself as a victim and me as a villain. In early March, Emily's campaign went digital and public. The Truth Tellerem account appeared on Twitter with a detailed thread about her abusive relationship with someone she called A Moon, obviously meant to be me. The thread included what appeared to be screenshots of text conversations where I was saying cruel, manipulative things. To her, the screenshots looked authentic. They showed my name, my profile picture, and messages that were written in a style that could plausibly be mine. But I had never sent any of those messages. Emily had either fabricated the entire conversation thread using readily available apps that can create fake text screenshots, or she had somehow edited our real conversations to change innocent messages into abusive ones. The thread went viral because Emily had crafted it perfectly for social media engagement. It told the story of gradual emotional abuse, included evidence that looked credible, and ended with a call to action for other women to share their stories and support survivors. Within 24 hours, the thread had been shared 50,000 times. Within 48 hours, it had spread to Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Emily had turned our 3-month relationship into a social media phenomenon. But Emily had made several critical errors that would ultimately destroy her case. First, she had used my real name and enough identifying information that everyone in our professional and social circles knew exactly who she was talking about. This meant her claims weren't just defamatory, they were defamatory in a way that caused specific measurable harm to my reputation and career. Second, she had created fake evidence, which moved her behavior from protected opinion into criminal fraud territory. Third, and most importantly, she didn't know that I had saved screenshots of every real conversation we'd ever had. When I saw the viral thread that Tuesday morning, my first instinct was panic. 50,000 people had seen fabricated evidence that made me look like an emotional abuser. My colleagues were seeing it. My boss would probably see it. Everyone in Austin's professional community would see it. But my second instinct was strategic. I work in digital marketing, which means I understand exactly how social media manipulation works. I know how to trace viral content, how to document digital harassment, and how to build evidence of coordinated, inauthentic behavior. I spent that afternoon systematically documenting everything. Screenshots of the original thread, documentation of every account that shared it, records of how the content spread across platforms. I created a comprehensive timeline of Emily's harassment campaign, from the fake accounts that appeared after our breakup to the viral thread that was destroying my reputation. Then I called Patricia Hendricks, an attorney who specializes in digital defamation law. I'd met Patricia at a tech industry legal conference the previous year, and I remembered her presentation about social media litigation. "This is exactly the kind of case I've been waiting for," Patricia told me after reviewing my documentation. Digital defamation with fabricated evidence, measurable harm to reputation and career prospects, and a clear pattern of malicious intent. What kind of case can we build? Defamation, obviously, but also harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and potentially criminal charges for fraud. Emily created fake evidence to damage your reputation. That's not protected speech. That's a crime. Patricia's strategy was methodical and devastating. First, we documented every false claim Emily had made and preserved evidence of the fabricated screenshots. Then we traced the social media campaign back to its source, documenting the fake accounts and coordinated sharing that had made the content go viral. Most importantly, we compared Emily's fabricated screenshots with the real conversation. History I'd preserved. The differences were obvious once you knew what to look for. Emily had edited our conversations to remove context, change innocent comments into cruel ones, and create entire exchanges that had never happened. The legal papers were served to Emily on a Thursday morning, 2 weeks after her viral thread. The defamation lawsuit sought $500,000 in damages for harm to my reputation, career prospects, and emotional well-being. Emily's response was immediate and exactly what Patricia had predicted. She doubled down. Instead of quietly removing the false content and apologizing, Emily posted another thread claiming she was being silenced by a powerful man with expensive lawyers. She characterized the lawsuit as proof that her allegations were true and evidence that I was trying to intimidate her into silence. This was Emily's third and final mistake. By continuing to spread false claims after being served with legal papers, she transformed simple defamation into malicious defamation, which carries much higher penalties. The discovery process revealed the full scope of Emily's manipulation campaign. Patricia's forensic digital analyst found evidence that Emily had used multiple fake accounts to share her content, had coordinated with friends to amplify the viral thread, and had created the fabricated screenshots using an app specifically designed to fake text conversations. Even more damaging, Emily's social media history showed that she had done this before. Her previous ex-boyfriend had been targeted with a similar campaign 8 months earlier, using many of the same tactics and even some of the same fabricated screenshot techniques. Emily Carter wasn't just a woman telling her truth about a bad relationship. She was a serial defamer who used social media as a weapon against ex-partners who didn't give her what she wanted. The case never went to trial. Faced with overwhelming evidence of digital fraud and a pattern of malicious behavior, Emily's attorney advised her to settle. The settlement included a $350,000 payment to me, a comprehensive retraction and apology to be posted on all the social media platforms where she'd spread false claims, and a permanent restraining order prohibiting her from making any public statements about me. But the real victory was what happened to Emily's reputation in Austin's professional community. Once the evidence of her fabricated harassment campaign became public, she became known as someone who weaponized social media against ex-partners. Her employer terminated her position, citing conduct incompatible with company values. Her professional network distanced themselves from someone who who had demonstrated she would use social media to destroy people who disappointed her. Emily Carter learned an expensive lesson about the difference between protected speech and criminal defamation. She also learned that fabricating evidence in the digital age is much easier to prove than she'd anticipated. 6 months after the settlement, I received a message from Emily's previous victim, the ex-boyfriend she'd targeted before me. He thanked me for taking legal action and explained that Emily's pattern of behavior had destroyed his reputation and cost him a job opportunity, but he hadn't known how to fight back. Seeing her face consequences for what she did to you gave me hope that there's justice for this kind of harassment, he wrote. Today, my reputation has fully recovered. The viral thread that once destroyed my credibility is now remembered mainly as an example of how social media manipulation can backfire spectacularly when it crosses legal lines. I still work at Zenith Digital, where my promotion was confirmed despite the temporary reputation damage. I've become something of an expert on digital defamation within my professional network, helping other people recognize and respond to social media harassment. Most importantly, I learned valuable lessons about the power and limitations of social media as a weapon. Emily thought she could destroy my life with fabricated screenshots and viral hashtags. What she didn't understand was that social media manipulation leaves digital fingerprints, and those fingerprints can be traced by people who understand the technology better than she did. Emily's campaign taught me that we live in an age where anyone can try to destroy anyone else's reputation with a smartphone and a Wi-Fi connection. But it also taught me that the same technology that enables digital harassment also provides the tools to fight back against it. The key is understanding that social media defamation isn't just cruel when it involves fabricated evidence and measurable harm, it's criminal. And criminals, even ones who use Instagram instead of masks, can be held accountable by people who know how to use the legal system as effectively as they use social media. Sometimes the best response to digital warfare is analog litigation. Emily discovered that the hard way, and her $350,000 education in defamation law serves as a reminder that viral lies can have very expensive consequences. Today, when someone tells me about being targeted by social media harassment, I tell them Emily's story, not to discourage them from seeking justice, but to show them that justice is possible, even in the digital age, if you're willing to fight smart rather than fight angry. Emily thought she could weaponize social media against me. Instead, she handed me the evidence I needed to weaponize the legal system against her. Sometimes the best revenge is simply making sure there are consequences for people who think they can destroy others without accountability. The internet never forgets, but it also never stops providing evidence. Emily learned both of those lessons at the same time, and it cost her more than she ever imagined when she created that first fake screenshot.